Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Apocalyptic Weather Caused by Planet X, Not Human Activity. Now, in a recent report, the US government has detailed the dangers of climate change brought about by global warming. In the same report, they also affirm that this global warming is due to human activity. Apparently, this human activity is the burning of fossil fuels, which releases carbon dioxide and other compounds in the atmosphere, which increase the greenhouse effect. In other words, heat is trapped inside the atmosphere. But if the greenhouse effect is the problem, why do they add high reflectivity particles to the atmosphere in the form of aerosols? High reflectivity particles reflect the radiation emitted by the surface of the Earth back towards the ground, thus trapping the Earth's heat inside the atmosphere. Chemtrails' main component is nanoparticle aluminum, which is used to coat fiberglass to form chaff, and is highly reflective, which is why the sky looks so hazy once they start spraying. And anyone who has eyes to see and looks at the sky knows very well that there is chemtrail spraying going on. And they are not contrails. Contrails are only about the same length as an airplane and quickly dissipate, leaving nothing but blue sky to be observed, whilst chemtrails spread into white straight line clouds. And here we see some of them. Chemtrails turn into long straight line clouds. Contrails disappear. A spreading chemtrail creates a shadow. You can clearly see this chemtrail here has created a shadow. You can see how the shadow joins the chemtrail there, where it obviously is closer to that cloud above it. So if the sun was shining, this would be impossible because the sun can only illuminate the atmosphere from above. And so if the sun was illuminating the atmosphere from above, there would never be any shadows. There would be nothing to cause shadows because only something above the cloud would be able to create a shadow. So you would only be able to see it from above. But we are seeing a shadow from below. And that means that the light that is illuminating the object, creating the shadow, is below the object. But even if there were two sources of illumination, the sun and a simulator, the illumination of the cloud by the sun from behind would make the creation of a shadow impossible because there would just be too much light coming through that cloud. Obviously, the sun is not doing that. However, there is such blatant denial about chemtrails that research scientists from Yale and Harvard have recently published a paper in the Environmental Research Letters Journal proposing aerosol injection of sulfate particles in the atmosphere in order to decrease global warming. Apparently, they never look up at the sky and thus have not realized that it is already being done nearly every day on a global scale. The authors of the US government report also mentioned that climate change is what leads to fires in California, floods, and other severe weather events. But the truth is that the California fires are clearly man-made through laser weapons, and most of the severe weather is caused by Planet X debris in the form of dust entering the atmosphere and causing increased condensation and thus increased rain. And you may look at Article 436 entitled Planet X Causing Excessive Rain, Hail, and Flooding. Or it is caused by artificial weather manipulation. And you may look at Article 335 entitled Biological and Ecological Weapons in Use Against Us. All the disasters we are seeing occurring with increasing severity on Earth, from weather disasters to earthquakes and tidal events, are caused by the Planet X system of stellar cores, which have destroyed the sun and are now approaching the Earth in increasing numbers. You may look at Article 435 entitled Planet X Debris Filling the Solar System. Sun is now a dark star for more details. And here is one of these objects that come in as comets, but they are huge. They have low gravitational influence because of their low energy status. They are dead stars, but they are huge and they absorb energy from solar system objects, and in that way can create cataclysms on the Earth. They have destroyed the sun, and here you see this object, and it's surrounded by this huge cloud of debris. It was moving in towards the sun, and it turned out to be larger than the sun. Now, many of the disasters that are occurring are due to the powers that be using their power against their fellow men in an effort to keep the truth from them regarding the Planet X system. They knew the truth by the end of 1985 and probably even earlier than that. And you may look at Article 446 entitled, "When did they find out that the sun was dying?" They knew then that the sun was dying and the comets were responsible. They knew that these were not little objects made of ice, but decided to hide that truth from the rest of the world as if their lives depended on it. They came up with various secret ways of replacing the sun, keeping the atmosphere looking blue and warm, whilst at the same time hiding the truth from the rest of the population. At the same time, they must have desired to decrease the world's population, which is why they tried to introduce poisonous materials wherever they could. Fluoride in the water, radioactive thorium, aluminum, nickel in chemtrails, lead in paint and fuel, toxic fertilizers, and pesticides on food. Mercury in tea fillings, mercury in light bulbs, toxic chemicals in cleaning products, etc. Now, Planet X does cause global warming, but that is because when the stellar core Planet X matter makes contact with Earth matter, it draws energy from it. This causes the Earth to generate more energy in its core. This energy then flows out through all the Earth layers and increases the temperature of the surface. The oceans are a huge part of that surface, so the oceans warm up. In addition, the sun is no longer regulating the climate. The sun would cause the equator to be warmer than the poles. But now the temperature in the atmosphere is regulated by laser light emitting devices, and thus the heating of the atmosphere is much more uniform, so that the poles have warmed up tremendously with respect to the rest of the Earth. This is why the poles continue to warm up. It is not due to global warming resulting from solar radiation re-emitted by the Earth being trapped, as there is no solar radiation coming from the sun. The radiation is coming from the artificial sky simulation system. Since the oceans have greatly warmed, though, because of the Earth warming up in response to the Planet X system, and because the North Pole is just ocean, the ice continues to melt at an accelerated pace at the North Pole. However, the simulation system often fails whenever large amounts of Planet X dust enters the atmosphere, which then results in the atmosphere being illuminated in the color of light emitted by the stellar cores and their debris, which have closely approached the Earth due to the energy transfer mechanism when stellar core matter makes contact with solar system matter. The entrance of large amounts of stellar core dust interrupts the emission of radiation in the atmosphere, which is warming the atmosphere, may lead to sharp drops in temperature. There is evidence of increasing amounts of Planet X dust coming into the Earth's atmosphere. You may look at Article 447 entitled "Increased Planet X Dust Entering Atmosphere and Creating Red Skies," which will cause the radiation emitted by the atmosphere heating devices to be reduced, and thus the atmosphere to cool in places. And here you see an Australian red sky from 2009. So you can see everything looks orangey red, which is the color of the sky, even the green leaves on the tree, but they are not green. Why are they not green? Because there's no white light, there's no green light for them to reflect. There's only red light, so they can only reflect red light, so they look red. And that means that the sun simulation system has malfunctioned, has failed. It's no longer emitting white light, or it's not emitting the other frequencies of the light that would most likely be added to the illumination provided by the stellar core. The stellar core is only emitting wavelengths for red light. So there's no green wavelength and there's no blue wavelength light. And so everything looks red. Now the dust, if viewed in white light, will most likely look like sand. So the authorities like to say that the color in the atmosphere is either due to dust or due to smoke from fires. But this cannot be the case, because fires cause smoke to be white and gray, and dust cannot stop the objects from looking their own color. You can clearly see these objects. There's not a lot of dust between us and this man, or between us and this tree. So it's not dust that can make things look red. It's the fact that the atmosphere is being illuminated only by red light. So the atmospheric heating may also not be able to adequately warm at high altitude. So mountainous regions may become colder than previously, and this may result in regions adjacent to high mountainous regions experiencing much colder weather than normal, when the cold air flows off the mountains into the valley below. This may be why northern India, which is south of the Himalayas, has been experiencing excessively cold winters. In conclusion, the natural global warming occurring on Earth is due to the Earth emitting and generating more energy as a result of the influence of the Planet X system, and is in no way caused by human activity. The poles are melting because the Earth's climate is no longer controlled by the sun, but by an artificial sky simulation system. And in particular, the ice is decreasing at the North Pole because of the oceans having greatly warmed up as a result of more heat flowing from the Earth, from the core of the Earth into them, from the interior of the Earth. So the chaotic climate we have is also directly and indirectly caused by the Planet X system. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.